What's up, Kurt? How you doing?
Good, man. How about you?
Good, man. How are you feeling? I'm pretty goddamn exhausted.
Well, yesterday I drove 14 hours, so.
Okay. Yeah, I came home right after we got done fishing on Sunday. It was only like 3.5 hours for me, so but still, when I got home yesterday, I was dead to the world, and today, like I was trying to do some squats, and I was like, I don't know if I feel like squatting because who would have thought that pedaling,
You put on
20.
some mileage.
Yeah, I put on some
You put on
miles.
some
Dude, like my glutes hurt like I did squats. Like my ass has been sore for like 2 days.
Yeah, I'm pretty tired, man. My legs and lower back. I mean, there's a lot of waves. You did way more water than I did, man. You were running from that other ramp. Man, I could
Yeah.
see you in the ramp. I heard you cussing in the morning.
Did you really hear me cussing in the morning?
Absolutely.
Oh no, I mean I believe you because I absolutely did. I was bitching about so much in the morning. The wind, the grass. Trying to figure out how to get around that point so I can get to my. Cause it was shallow. It got real shallow. I got stuck on the rocks for a little bit because, it just.
And that grass, and you have a prop drive.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's just like the two just don't like each other.
No. It was funny because I went back to the same spot like 2 or 3 times. You thought I would have had it figured out by now, but every morning was like shit. God damn it! What the fuck? Oh, but man, it was really cool. I couldn't think of a better way to meet you in person than like within the first 2 hours on the water at Lake Champlain during a Hobie event, right?
Yeah, that was cool, man. That was really cool. And that's what these events are all about, man. Meeting everybody. We've talked more than a few times and stuff. It's cool to see each other in person. For the brief time that we did.
Isn't it weird though? Like, I could see you. I saw someone. Probably about 500, whatever. I could tell it was you right away. I don't know how. I knew it was you. I could just tell. So it was. It was good, man. It was a good time. Probably one of my favorite things. I didn't do it well. But when I say that, all things considered, I did really well. But when you look at the fish that everyone caught, it's like I really wish I would have hooked in some of those big ones. Not necessarily to win the tournament, just God, there were some big fish out there.
There really was, man. I pre-fished from 2. I pre-fished a bunch. I had a fair amount of time to pre-fish there, and man, I tell you, I've had some really fun pre-fishing trips, but this one has topped them all. I don't care who you are, go to Lake Champlain and go catch fish, man. There are so many big fish in that lake, and so many different places hold big fish. It's not like, oh, this one little boulder did it, man. It is like it's a cool lake. It's really pretty up there. Man, I really enjoyed myself.
I think looking back at it, I think it was there were so many habitats to choose from the fish at. You know what I mean? And that was, I'm from New York. I fished Lake George, which is like, 5 minutes away from the southern end of the Champlain. I'm just like, but it's nothing compared to like Champlain. Champlain just has like it's so diverse. I mean, there's a river feel to it. There's an offshore. There's a smallmouth bite. There's a largemouth bite. There's a combined bite. There's a frog. I mean, whatever you want, you can absolutely find it on Lake Champlain. And it was almost overwhelming at first because it's like, how do I break this lake down? Like, it was just so much to take in. Like 2 days of pre-fishing wasn't enough for me.
Oh, no way. I mean, man, let's face it. Honestly, this is one of those lakes that's so big that a year of pre-fishing wouldn't be enough.
Yeah.
You can't break down the whole lake. This isn't one of those lakes you can go to and dissect it into a grid and be like, okay, that's checked, this place is just so monstrously big.
Yeah.
And it's cool, and there's so many rivers coming into it. That's the other thing though. If you haven't been there, you don't look at it, man. There are these rivers that come into that thing on both sides. That's just amazing, man. Just amazing. Yeah. And I went back and fished some of them. I didn't do any good back in them, for anything large. Obviously,
yeah. What I found out, I was watching the leaderboard, and the winner, it looked like he was fishing like 1 feet deep of water in like a rock. I couldn't figure out where he was at because, like I said, it was so big and like there's so much unknown about it. But it's like when you saw the picture, it's like, where the hell is this guy fishing? You know, not that I'm trying to cheat or anything, but still at the same time, it's like, where do you
Well,
find?
everyone wants to know where the big fish were caught, right? I mean, that's just something that we're all curious about, right? We'd all like to know exactly where and to see how it laid up. You know, it's kind of funny you say that. I know where he was fishing just because there's people talk. You know, there's other people who launched with him, but you know, he was in the right area. And dude, and where he fished, I know he's got big balls.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
got really big balls because there is zero protection from the south wind there, man. I mean, I mean, I wouldn't go fish there.
You know, like, we're looking back,
How's that wind?
when I look back, I think about some of the mistakes I made. Not really mistakes, but like some of the things there's a lot of things that forced me to fish the way that I had to fish. And a lot of it was the wind, and it was just like,
Absolutely.
but the thing is though, there's some of those people who took the chance and went out there and braved it. Those are the ones who really.
Well, it paid off, man, right? And they also had those areas all to themselves, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and let's face it, man. The Vaughn, the guy who won it, he flipped twice. He flipped his kayak twice. I mean, the thing that I just find so awesome about the whole story, man, isn't just that he won it on smallies, right? Great big smallies on a killer place that's like set up perfect for smallies, right? And then he flipped twice, and that's all this big story, and just how epic it was for him to make it all happen. Because I've been listening to all the stuff he's been doing and everything, but it's Kate, man. It's third place. That's just really, Vaughn, he did such a great job, but it's like this whole package for this event. It's all these different people that kind of came out of, I don't want to say nowhere, but, Vaughn hasn't done a whole lot of national stuff. I haven't heard about him before. And all of a sudden he came in and boom, put the hammer down, caught them all on smallies in an epic way. And then we got Kate's story too, man. I mean, it's just so cool, man. And I had such a good time up in New York. I just, I've had a lot of really good times this year, and I seem to say this like after every tournament. But man, New York's my new favorite place. I will drive 14 hours to go back there and fish in a drop of a hat. Honestly, that's how awesome the lake was. That's just and everything else. But back to the tournament anyway. With Kate and everything, the awesome stories that have come out of it, to see Kate's really hard work for the past 2 years. I got to stay in a house with her. I got to know her a little bit. Man, and she's had her own struggles physically, and with your day life, your regular life and stuff. And to see her go from someone who just really had a lot of desire, but maybe not very much knowledge, to someone placing top 3 in a Hobie event and knowing what she did and was confident in what she did and found the fish. I mean, it's just really, that's what I love seeing, man. I love seeing that development of people as anglers.
I've been very fortunate because I taught to Kate right before she did her first Hobie event. I was just starting my podcast, Cast Out. She might have been like my 5th or 6th guest, but I thought she was very interesting because she was doing that fishing every day, and then was going to go do a Hobie event, and she lived all the way in Utah, and she had no plan. She was just going to fly there, meet up with someone, borrow a kayak, fish. Did absolutely horrible. But you watch her though, it's like it lit a fire in her, and she just kept going back and kept doing all these events and started traveling across the country. And I say this with as much love as I possibly can because I absolutely love the girl. But you just watch her. She sucks. But then you watch her, she got better and got better and got better. And then you're just watching her, she went from not being able to catch a fish to catching a limit on day 1, but struggling on day 2 to catching a limit on day 1 and catching a limit on day 2 to placing in the top 20 to having her name within the top 50 of the Angler of the Year points. Now winning her first event. I was very fortunate though. I was actually, when I was up there, I launched in the same place she did for 3 days in a row. My second day of pre-fishing, I launched with her. Day 1, I launched with her. Day 2, launched with her. So I had the privilege of coming back each day and like seeing the big,
seen her at the ramp.
yeah,
Oh, cool.
yeah, it's like she grabs me, gives me a hug, and like, oh my God, Josh, like this is the greatest day ever. And I'm over there crying, she's crying. It's just because I've watched it, I've had her on the show so many times, and I know her struggles. Like to see her accomplish what she accomplished, I'm just like, for one, it puts things in a check. Like if you're in the mindset where you don't think you can be competitive in this sport, you're absolutely wrong. Because I can tell you, Kate was not very competitive when I first talked to her at the beginning of last year at all. And now she's top 3. She's going to the tournament champions. I'm not sure where her ranking's going to be now as far as Angler of the Year run, but I know it's not going to be as bad as it was the day prior to this.
Oh, come on, man! Third place, man.
Yeah.
298 points. That's a big upgrade, man.
Yeah, I could be more proud of her.
Seeing that whole development has been killer, man. And seeing, and she probably doesn't appreciate, no one appreciates the struggles, really, I don't think. And maybe she does, but it makes me appreciate the things that I've been through when I watched her develop, you know what I mean? Because I feel like that I started late like she did, you know what I mean? And it was like an uphill battle, but seeing Kate and seeing her enthusiasm lights me up,
Right.
It gets me excited, and then I'm like, this next tournament looks awesome. And honestly, like last year, Kate inspired me. And I'll tell you exactly why. As I saw her at Susky, and she had drove all the way there from Utah, and we went out and had dinner and stuff. And I had such a crappy, dude, Susky, it was just the worst event ever for me last year, right? And I'm driving home, and I'm kind of bummed out. I'm a little burned out on driving and stuff. And I'm like, I'm only driving 8 hours. And then I start thinking about it. I'm like, she drove like 20 hours. And so I start putting things into perspective, like, gosh, man, and she's, and I'm like, this is all, what am I complaining about? And that kind of reset my mind and inspired me to not think of 8 hours as being very far to drive.
Yeah.
And that was before she did anything. So Kate's just a very inspiring person when you talk to her, and she's just got such a genuine love for the sport.
Yeah, if I think I had to think like what you really done problems were it's like, what am I putting so much into? It's just fishing, it's just kayak fishing. Even though I really enjoy it, but I get in these moments because it's like, what does this all mean? What am I working for? And blah blah blah. My mind goes in these weird places, and then I see her. It's like, oh, that's why I want to do this because I love it. I really enjoy it, and it's okay to be passionate about something. It's okay to chase weird dreams or things that people don't understand. It's okay to put everything you have into something that you really enjoy. And regardless of what it gives back to you, none of us will probably ever get rich off doing this or whatever. But the moment, like when you look at her and how she lives in the moment, it's just like, that's what a happy life is. That's what a good life is all about. Is living with some kind of with a passion or whatever. Like and not always expecting something.
Yo, absolutely, man. And just like you said, living in the moment. Man, and having something to be passionate about makes life worth living. Because quite frankly, man, day-to-day life is just, I don't know about you, dude. It's just not, it doesn't like get me up, doesn't lift me up, Now,
Right.
I don't have kids like you do, you know what I mean? And I think that changes things a lot for people, and I see it in my friends that have kids because it lights them up, So for me, I need these passions. I need these distractions in my life. And Kate just, anytime I start feeling burned out or anything like that, and you just look at Kate and it just changes everything. It just rejuvenates you and stuff.
No.
And to see her do it at such an epic fishery where so many big fish were caught. It wasn't like she came to fishing where it was hard and stumbled on something. She came to it when these guys were laying it down, man. They were putting in big bags, and she was right there with them, third place.
Yeah,
right there with them, man.
You know what? When I really look back at it, you're absolutely right. When you watch how that top 10 developed, like it was like no one's like it was one person dominated like real quick, and we'll give that to him, because he found those.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But everyone else. Everyone else was trying to get up there to the top, and to see her really go head to head with Cody Milton, head to head with Drew Gregory, with Mike Iaconelli, Matthew Zapp. I mean, all these guys, especially some of these guys who know how to fish northern lakes too as well, and to see her up there like just battling it out.
Think about that in front of Mike Iaconelli, man.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, how awesome is that, dude? How awesome is that?
Yes.
Legit pro, who's really putting everything he has into it. You know what I mean? He's not coming in and not pre-fishing or just giving it away. He's coming in when he gets 2 days of pre-fishing. Some people like myself had more pre-fishing, and he still smoked us. You know what I mean? And Kate beat him. That's awesome.
A middle-aged woman who started fishing 2 years ago.
yeah, man. You know, and honestly, I think this says a lot about the kayak community.
Yeah.
And because so many people in the kayak community put out great content for others to learn from, man. And I think a lot of us don't hold back on these little tips and tricks because, you know, I've watched a lot of videos to learn stuff, to watch to see how people make their videos and what content they're putting into them. And I really notice, and maybe I'm wrong, but I really notice the kayak guys putting out the best content for how to catch fish, not holding back, putting those little weird tips and tricks and how they're tweaking their baits very subtly to make them the better bait. Because let's face it, man, this is all about degrees. You know what I mean? 1 degree better, 1% better is way better. You know, you're catching a bigger fish, you know?
Yeah.
And I just think that's helped everybody learn more and get better faster like Kate, you know? I mean, because she's obviously gotten better faster. Now, I will say this too. Kate puts more time on the water than most people I know.
Yeah,
I mean, just straight up, I'm on the water.
Right. You know what I see though, Kurt? Like, maybe I'm just fortunate enough where I had the podcast and I'm able to really see like how the community really go. You know, 'cause I talked to so many different people, to become friends with so many people. So I'm very fortunate. But one of the things I see about people is that, dude, like just running the podcast. You know how many times I get conversations from like really great anglers giving me tips, not selling me bullshit or selling me products, but no shit like breaking down a chatterbait for me. Dude, I can call Jake Harshman right now, who's a pretty good stick himself, and he will give me all the information I need. He's not selling me shit. He's not trying to get me to buy a rod. He's just telling me, and I don't know why he does it. And then you watch someone like Kate, like she travels the country, she stays with all these people, and they take her fishing and things like that. You don't really see that like in any other like competitive field that I know of, where everyone's trying to beat each other. Like here, it's just like, dude, the flow of information and like the things we build here are second to none. We're all trying to win and we're all trying to, get to these big events, but at the same time, I've never seen people so like open and able to share their information and not really feel threatened by each other. I mean, don't wrong, come game day, it's game day. But other than that, like, I mean, I stayed with Cody Milton on Wednesday night and we were talking, he was giving me all kinds of advice and secrets to the sport. You know what I mean? It's just like, I play the sports, I've done things that don't happen anywhere else or that I know of.
Oh no, this is something different, man. This is really something different. And it's not, you're not going to find this stuff in other fishing venues or other fishing style stuff. You're not going to find it in a lot of other sports in this style of stuff. That we really are very lucky, and I feel incredibly privileged to be in the fishing, into kayak fishing at this moment, right? Because I don't know if it could get any better. It can get bigger, but it can't get any better. You know what I mean? Everyone, like you said, no one feels really, well, very few people feel threatened by other kayak anglers. You know what I mean? Yeah. We all brothers and sisters in it. We're all out there to do our best. And I genuinely feel like everyone who's doing this really wants the best person to do best. They don't want to like necessarily beat somebody, but they just want to be their best. They want to do their best day on the water, man. And it's just such a cool thing to be a part of right now, man.
Yeah. I think you're
I'm
right.
not this like overtly social guy either. I mean? I don't run around. I'm not a Chad Hoover. I don't run around and light up the room and talk a lot of funny jokes. But I've made so many killer friends through this that are lifelong friends now. We're very lucky at this moment, man. Right now, in kayak fishing.
Yeah, like caveat on that. It's like dude, there's so many and there's like we're all like each other's cheerleaders too. You know what I mean? Like it's just like, dude, like dude, winning a tournament or doing good or placing a check, dude. Expect to get 1,000 messages, 1,000, like whatever, and everyone just commenting and praising like the work you did. Like there's no like, it's just weird. Like I look forward to doing good tournaments because I get so much love from everyone. Just telling me, oh God, you come so far. Look, when I do bad, it's like, dude, you could have done a lot worse, but you did. I mean, it's just a really cool. And I'm like you. I kind of feel lucky that we are where we are because I don't think it gets any better. And I tell people who want the sport to grow, like I'm not saying I don't want to grow, but just understand that like the bigger it gets, the less of this is going to be. It becomes more of a, more of a business or more whatever it's going to be. But like it changes the bigger it gets. So I'm not saying I don't want to get big. I'm just saying cherish the moment while you have it because it's not always going to be like this, I imagine.
No, it's not, man. And honestly, I went through something like this with mountain biking. I kind of came into mountain biking like in the golden age of it. And it had this like really great vibe to it. But then as it grew, and more different people came into the sport who wanted to have it go one way or this other way, it did change the sport, man. And it kind of lost that really cool vibe. And I just, it's just awesome to be a part of it and to see the growth in the sport, man, because the Hobie events are blowing it wide open, man. I think the Hobie events, bar none, are showing how competitive we are. And the motorboat guys, I think, are like really seeing that and taking it to heart. I mean, we're bringing real names to the sport. Like Iaconelli came to this, man. He had to wait through the drive line like everybody else, man. There was no like special pull off. Here you go, man. See, get a special treatment. He was treated like another guy. He got no special anything. And to see a guy, and let's face it, man, he is the top of the food chain. If we're all sharks, he's the biggest shark, coming around. Right. He's made a real living, a good living off of fishing, And to see him come into kayak fishing and really embrace it and really see him ignited by it, man, is something else. Because if you're at that level and you're getting excited about fishing again, man, that's pretty cool. It just shows that this is so special right now.
No, agreed. I mean, it doesn't get any better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's going to be really interesting.
And not only that, but I mean, like the guy. Yeah. So, all right, man. Well, let's talk a little bit about our experience at Champlain. I know I can't complain. I got limits both days. It was my first Hobie event. It was probably the out of all my tournaments that I've done, even though it was one of my favorites. I don't just something about the vibe. Like I felt competitive. And once I got that first limit in my limit, I'm like, oh shit, like I can do this. This is I'm not as bad as I used to be. I can come in here and I can make a run for it. Obviously, the elements kind of dictated how to fish. I didn't get to fish the way I wanted to, but that's the sport, and that and it's the choices you make after that when everything kind of goes falls apart that really sets you apart. But dude, it was a great event, but tough. I know a lot of guys caught a lot of big fish, but I think everyone really had to work for what they did that day. Like I don't think it was anything easy given. Even the winner, when I heard his story, I'm like, dude, that guy earned his shit. There was nothing easy about that at all. So, and he wasn't the only one that flipped this kayak. There's a Matt, I think it's Zapla, I think is his name. He flipped this kayak. I read his read one of his things. It was a tough one. A lot of wind. And then I feel like the largemouth were kind of in a funk. I'm not making excuses, but they weren't acting as like the way I thought they were going to be acting. They're hard. They're difficult to find for me.
Well, I think what was happening, because, we were in the same area. I think the largemouth were just barely post-spawn. Yeah. So they were in a funk there. You know what I mean? Because I caught one with a bloody tail that was off the nest. I didn't realize I caught it off the nest until I let it go and it swam right back down to it. And then I saw it, and then I was like, "Oh, it's a nest right there." So I think that's what was going on where we were, because when I went pre-fishing, I'll be honest with you, man, I was so focused in on smallies. I didn't care what the weather said for the weekend. I just went and chased smallies all week long. I never even once went looking for largemouth. I caught a couple largemouth, but I never once went looking for them. free fishing, man. I went to Main Lake, Smalley, places that I thought looked good, man. And I'll tell you, I had a really good time, man, free fishing. I got into the Smalleys good out there. But, and this is like you said, man, the weather came up, and then I started realizing that the weather up there on Lake Champlain is a lot different than it is. They say, 20-mile-an-hour winds out of the south. I mean, that's a big deal there. That changed everything for me because I started realizing that because on Friday it was pretty windy. Yeah. And when I went out to this Main Lake flat, man, the waves were crashing over my front of my boat. And I got back, there was a lot of water in it. There was a couple of times I got caught like diagonal or sideways, so that wave hit me, and it kind of unnerved me a little bit. I knew the weather was going to get worse the next day, so I chickened out on my main spot. And where I saw you, I went in there blind. My buddy said, "Hey, I caught a few fish over here, man." And I was like, "Do you care if I come and just fish?" And he's like, "No." So I came down there, and I was like pre-fishing for me, just kind of searching around, And it was. You're right. It was tough over there, man. It was not a gimme bite.
No, but I was like you too. Like, I did go down south to Ticonderoga or whatever, and I fished down there. The water was dirty. The wind was going. I'm like, I got to figure something else out. And I wish I would have stayed down there longer because obviously eventually there was a really good bite there. But the thing is, when I went up north and I fished where we were fishing the day before, I found a few fish on beds. I caught a really big one. I think she was in transition from spawn to post spawn. Like I think I literally caught her. I was looking around. It was really shallow, and I see something moving. I'm like, oh shit, that's a big fish. And so I just throw a chatterbait and just landed in front of her, getting everything else to throw the time. And she aggressively hit it. I'm like, oh shit. And I pulled her out of the water. I felt like she was done and she was heading to deeper waters. And then a few feet over, I saw another bed. I'm like, okay, that's interesting. And then that was the only beds I found. And then, I went down south and I started finding some of the guys. I guess they were probably just males that got done with a nest, and they were getting ready to guard fry. Cause I think that's all I caught. But other than that, man, I went to all these juicy spots that looked like places that largemouth wanted to be. I mean, the grass was just amazing there. It had everything. It had everything. It had everything you wanted. But man, I spent so many hours flipping and just trying to figure out where these fish were. And I found them, but it was there was nothing I could really do with it. I never found a bite where I'm like, oh, I figured it out. It was all like, oh shit, I caught a fish, and then an hour later, like, all right, there's another one. But there was never any pattern or anything like that. It was a really tough, frustrating day for me because I didn't know. And here's the worst part, because I went so far down there and the wind was so bad. I think this is what just kind of screwed me over, is that I didn't make any big movements because I didn't know if I was going to be able to get back to go fish. The saying is never leave fish to find fish. It's like, I know there's fish here, but I haven't found any winning fish. But if I leave here, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to get back, because when that wind blew, it blew it in a way. I left one time, day one, 2 hours before the end, and I was going to try to get back to my spot because I was struggling. I'm like, all right, go spend the next hour. Maybe you can upgrade a little bit, but I couldn't get back there because that wind got so bad. So I ended up getting stuck. I started fishing really sloppy, just no focus or whatever. And then finally I saw you, and I heard you scream probably for like a half a mile away. I guess you caught your last fish or your fifth fish on day one because you were struggling as well.
Oh, yeah. I had 3 fish right away in the morning there, and then I didn't have any fish the rest of the day. And then my biggest fish, too, was my last fish. So I was just like, I can't, It was one of those days, like you said, everything was kind of going sideways for me. I couldn't go fish where I wanted to. I wanted to do the Smalley thing, and I couldn't do that. So I had to go somewhere else, and I'm fishing for largemouth, and I wasn't really in the largemouth mindset, and things weren't going my way really. And man, it sure did feel good towards the end of the day to catch a good fish and have it be my last fish at the same time, man. I mean, that felt really good,
Yeah, well, I thought it was Ike. I thought it was Mike Iaconelli up there or something, like videotaping. You were so excited. But what do you think? Like when you get in a situation like that. Because one of my problems was okay, I know this area. I don't have any other real plan right now, and taking a chance to leave that, it felt foolish to me. And it did kind of work out for me because I was able to put up a limit, but I was never on both days. I was never really able to put up a big limit or a limit that got me over 80. And there's times like, okay, I know there's fish here, but there's never gonna like this. There's no big fish here. I got to move. But it's like, well, where do I move? And if I get there, what am I gonna do when I get there? Like, how am I gonna break it apart? Because I didn't pre-fish a lot of areas, or whatever. I was gonna move to a spot like unknown. Like, what am I gonna do here? Is it gonna be better? It's just like, when we try to make those decisions, it's like it's kind of scary because it's like you're in a weird funk now. It's like, do I stay? Do I go? What's the benefits of staying? What's the benefits of going? Because there's I definitely knew the cons of both. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely, dude. And that's always the hardest decision to make during a tournament is like, because if you really want to do well, you can't just catch fish at a Hobie event.
No.
You have to catch big fish.
Yep.
You can't just go catch fish because everyone's going to be doing that. Everyone's going to be catching these. Everyone there can catch fish. You have to catch big fish. That's really hard, and I'll tell you, since we were fishing the same area, and I don't know exactly where you were fishing. You were kind of more in the back of the cove than I was, and with the situation with the wind, and you couldn't go main lake, because honestly, if I was thinking to go catch more consistent big fish, I would have been moving more main lake. But then once you got out there, that wind was kind of nutty in the afternoon, especially where we were, and you have to go main lake. I don't think where we were was like the spot for big fish on the main lake either. I would have stayed. You know what I mean? I would have been like, there's got to be one back in here in the mix. You know what I mean? I might have pulled out to that grass a little bit more and started just throwing stuff in the grass, because I think that's what happened is a lot of them, these guys have spawned and they have pulled out to that grass where it's just like 2-3 feet deeper. And they're just bedding down in that grass, just hanging out, waiting to feel a little better before they move on and start to, be more aggressive. Because there wasn't a whole lot of deep water back in there.
No, and that was my thing. I was thinking about, because I was going to try to do that. Because I can tell you now, I was all the way back, fishing like the grass. That was like, pretty much all the way back in there. And I was finding fish. I was flipping into like some I guess you would call it like grass points, where like the grass was just a little bit different than everything else. And I was finding little guys there, but like I knew that if I wanted to find big ones, I had to go and get out kind of more like the middle of that area. But the problem was the wind. Whenever it came down that goddamn mountain, like it told you it was 20, but it wasn't. It was. I mean, I can paddle through 20. I couldn't paddle back through this. It was bad. Like it hit me like hurricane gust winds or something like that. I'm like, this is ridiculous.
So a local down there told me, if you see the prediction of 20, it's 40 on the lake. He said it doubles. He goes, double anything you see for wind on the lake. And I think he's right. Man. Like you said, there's no way when that wind was blowing in the afternoon, back where we were, that was howling. That was, I can do 20 mile an hour here back home all day long.
Yeah.
It's wet, it's wavy, but there, man, no way. No way, man. It was gnarly.
And like the way it controlled my kayak was scary too, because I was trying to move, and it dictated which way my kayak was going to be. I'm like, if it turns me, keep turning me and going over. Like, there's nothing I can do about this. And there was sometimes it's like the only reason I really did fish back there was because I was too terrified to go anywhere else, because at least where I had like the land kind of blocking the full effects of the wind. But if I got about 20 feet away from like the shoreline, dude, it became an ocean, like just wild water, like waves and just difficult to maneuver. And it was there's no excuses, because people caught fish in crazier conditions than I did that day and got the big fish. But the one thing that kind of bugged me, I was listening to Drew Gregory. He posted something. How he is on his Instagram. He tells you everything he's doing. He's packed up from this spot and he's moving to that spot. I'm like, why don't you? And like when you hear about how he pre-fishes, he talks about the buffet. He goes in, he gets a little bit of everything, and then he goes back. Once he finds what he likes, then he goes back and starts filling his plate with the good stuff. Look back, I'm like, you didn't have that. Like you lived and died by like one or two decisions. But this guy over here, he has just he spent his time pre-fishing, like just looking at stuff all day, every day, and I'm just like, that might be the next thing for me. It's like, how I approach pre-fishing, and not getting caught up, Because I'll be honest with you, that area that we fish, I've been looking at since December, and a few other places. But like that spot, like for some reason I already knew that I was going to fish that spot, and that was just the way it is. And now I look back, like why were you like that? Like you had Cody Milton. I stayed with him at Wednesday night, and I didn't see him again because he went all the way up north and slept in his van because just or whatever 2 hours away from where he had a Airbnb. That was his dedication to finding the fish and finding the good spots. And then he looked back like, oh, that's how those guys catch the big fish. That's how those guys win because the way they pre-fish, the way they break down water, they don't get so fixated on just one spot or two spots and think they got a plan. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. And you really have to do that. When I pre-fish, I try to hit 2 places a day. Just to like you said, to sample a couple different things, like Drew said. You want to sample a couple different things. Like I spent half a day way up a river one time. Then I spent another half a day on a bay, and I spent another half a day on another bay, and another half a day. Sometimes it's 3 places. If they're close enough, and I feel like I can hit those areas. It was a little hard on Champlain to do 3 places a day because each bay is so big and there's so much to check out in each one. I didn't feel like I could do 3 places, but that's really what you got to do. I mean, Drew's right. He's an amazing angler too, man. Talk about, I would love to know where he went because, he went back someplace in a creek, and I went back several of these creeks. I could not find big fish. And I was just like, they're just not back here. And then he's like, giants! I mean, come on, man.
But it's funny, like, because I imagine, because I talk to people, it's like, man, I did go that spot during pre-fishing, but it's just like, what are they doing? Like, I mean, like, I'm looking to catch fish, and they're just looking at areas and like, okay, there's going to be fish here, because that was one of the reasons I didn't go back down south because I didn't catch anything during pre-fish. I saw a lot of good spots that looked juicy. I found a lot of good grass edges. I saw some of the creeks and things like that, and I knew these areas in the past had produced fish for people. I went down to Lachute River, where Eric Jackson had a very successful FL or FW or whatever performance, and but like during pre-fish, I didn't get anything. But are you supposed to get anything during pre-fish? Because I mean, like you say.
You do, yeah. You should.
They say you do get something. You get nothing. You get absolutely nothing. Like pre-fishing it's a weird concept. Like sometimes I wish they just took it out. Like you weren't allowed to pre-fish. That you just go and you pick a spot on game day and you just get after it.
Oh, that'd be wild, man. That'd be really hard, man.
But to me, pre-fishing has never been like a. To me, it only tells me like what's in the water, like what where the grass is, where the the ledges are, or the whatever, like the spots that could be potential to hold fish. Because I don't know how many times I've caught fish and gone back there and the fish has moved. Especially if you're doing if you find an offshore bite, it's one of the reasons I don't really like. I have no confidence like chasing smallmouth because I've had them move on me before, and I don't know how to find. I don't know how to chase them down. So that's one of the reasons why I've always avoided them during tournaments. But it's just, to me, like pre-fishing is just such a difficult thing to do. Like how to match it up with how you're going to do on a tournament day, because it's just so different. Like every day's different. The fish don't care about what you thought you figured out. Whatever pattern you had, that pattern goes out the window. What do you do now? Then now you just got to go fish again. And usually how it happens with me, whatever I figure out on pre-fishing, just forget about it, because you got to learn this shit all over again come day one.
I'm glad you said that, man, because a lot of people are like, oh, this guy got 2 weeks of pre-fishing in, or this guy got 10 days, and I can't do that. And, that gives him such a big advantage. And then when you look at it, a lot of times, like this last event, that guy Vaughn had 3 hours of pre-fishing. 3 hours of pre-fishing. You can pre-fish too much. Yeah. You can go down too early. Like you said, a cold front moves in, and it was in the 80s, and now it's in the 60s. All this stuff can happen that will change bites. You can find a shallow bite, cold front moves in, fish move out. All that stuff can totally happen with pre-fishing. And sometimes pre-fishing is more about finding where not to go. So you fish a lot of unproductive water. You're fishing, you're like, this looks juicy, but I ain't catching anything. And it's not always about finding the fish. Honestly, people always say, "Man, I got to find the fish where everyone else is going," and it's like you need to find fish that are going to bite the way you fish.
Yeah.
Because quite honestly, a lot of people went to Ticonderoga. A lot of people went down there and did well, but man, if you go down there and you don't, and it's not your style or whatever, whatever it is, whatever the situation is, and you just can't get it together down there, that's not the place for you, man. That's how I look at it. I fish a little different than a lot of people, man. So I don't really necessarily care where all these other people are fishing because I got to find my own thing. I got to find the ones that are going to bite for me, and how I'm going to fish. And there's a lot to that because, and you'll see the better anglers do that too. They're not really all that worried about where the other good anglers are fishing. They might want to fish them where they are, but they're not really trying to chase down their bites.
Right. Well, that was kind of why I gave myself a break for this tournament. I mean, obviously, I had to like be realistically on my skill levels and like fishing like really bad conditions, but it's like I picked that spot to go to because when I got there, it's like, oh wow, it just has everything that I like to fish. The grass came in exactly, all just like, but who knows? Like any other day, that could have been the spot. You know what I mean? I mean, I was down there all by myself with fish. I just couldn't find the big ones there. But I mean, like any other day, it could have been. Maybe I would have been there a week prior. I would have caught them on beds, or maybe next week once they get recovered and they're not so beat up from the spawn. I'm down there and I'm catching 17 and 18 and 19-inch fish. You know what I mean? It's like a lot of times you just got to accept the fact that like it just didn't go your way and be happy that you were able to produce a limit in such such tough conditions because a lot of people didn't,
And you did good, dude, man. You did good for your first Hobie event to get where you got. That's really good, man. Because these guys, everyone in there is a hammer, man. Even the guys that you maybe don't know or hear their names because they're locals and they can't, they got day jobs and they got families and they can't travel around and stuff. Almost all those guys who signed up for a Hobie event, who dropped the $260, they're all amazing sticks, dude. So when you're above the 50% mark, man, that's like a really good thing for your first one, dude. I mean, seriously.
Yeah. No, I'm still like I never left. Every day I was happy. My only problem is like, when you look back in hindsight, it's like, what could I have done better? And like I'm sitting there thinking, like, I don't know what I could have done better. One of the things I'm afraid of, like, if you move, and I did move a little bit, and you get there, and things are still tough, things are still hard. You know what I mean? It's just one of those things. Unless you have like I don't know the secret yet, and maybe that's like the next part of like my evolution. You like when you talk about when I was listening to Drew Gregory and like why he moved when he did. He knew why he moved. He knew why he started off this point, and he got his bite there, and he knew once the bite died there, he went to another spot where he knew the bite. It's almost like he had it down to a science of when the bite was going to start here and when the bite was going to start there. And one of the things I was thinking about me, if I move, dude, I'm just moving because I'm not happy with what's going on. You know what I mean? Like I'm not moving because I have like a solid plan or like some like mathematical approach to this game. I'm just moving because I'm not getting my way right now. I'm moving because they're not hitting the chatterbait, or when I drag a Texas rig, they're not interested in it. You know what I mean? That's why I want to move. But what I did there is like I didn't move, and I just started throwing different things and trying different stuff, and I'm like, oh shit, that worked. And that was just the whole day was like, well, that worked. And it was just a constant thing like that. But I think the moment when I realized, when you do have spots, like, exactly why you're going there. You're not just going there because you're not happy with the fact that you're not catching fish. You're going there because, oh, wow, this might be the time when the bite starts or whatever. I don't know. When I listen to people talk, like when I listen to Drew talk, I'm like, oh shit, he had a really good plan. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And, Drew has a huge amount of time on the water. He grew up fishing. He's a really good angler. He had his TV show. He ran river bassin, so he's got such a wealth of information that it's easy for him to know when to move.
Right.
And to be confident in it, because it's not just knowing when to move, but feeling confident in it and not second guessing yourself once you move.
Right.
Because that takes away from what you're trying to do at this other spot, which is catch the fish. Because every time you're thinking about that other spot and you're looking over your shoulder, you're not making the right cast. You're not focusing in on the moment and exactly what's happening in front of you. And that's one of the things, especially when I hear Drew talk, man, the confidence he has is just, it's really something to behold, man. Um, that's just time on the water. I'm not always that confident. I'll be honest. Sometimes when I move, I'm like, should I have waited another hour with it turned back on back there? And that's really not what you want to do. You really want to be like, they shut down, they moved out, I stuck them all. Yeah, time to move. That's the right decision. I'm going to point B, and they're going to be there biting, and I'm going to focus completely on that. It's hard to do, but man, with Drew, man, he's and if you've ever seen him fish, man, he fishes fast, man. I fished behind him a few times, and man, we started out kind of like together on a river one time, and he just went down it so fast, man. I was like, by the time I felt like he was done.
Yeah.
He's got his own style. If you say someone's a power fisherman in the kayak world, I would say it's Drew.
No, absolutely. I don't think he throws finesse.
No, man, I don't think so. It's a jackhammer. Yeah, it's a jackhammer.
All right, well, so looking back, and we'll wrap this thing up soon. What would you like to do differently? There's no regrets, but now that we know where we placed, and we know how it went down, and now we can look at hindsight. And maybe that's not something you should do, but I don't think you learn anything for not doing it. Like, I think you kind of got to look at like and really break down why things. And when I say poorly, I don't mean like horrible. I'm just saying we didn't get first place, and that's what we all want, or we didn't cash a check, and that's what we're all there for. And we didn't cash checks, so my honest assessment of me is like I really need to learn how to pre-fish better. Like I need it. Like me personally, I need to find an approach. When I look at like what I did at this event and what I did at Candlewood, like these are events that I had. To me, 2 days is enough. I don't want to go there anymore. My brain can't handle that kind of input. But like that's what I look at. It's like 2 days. But I don't think I'm utilizing the days that I have appropriately, and that's what's causing me some hard times when it comes to game day.
Yeah, I mean, you want me to comment on like what you can do better?
Why not?
Man, honestly, you got to break it down. You just got to say you're going to go to two places. You know what I mean? You got to go to your A place and only spend so much time there, and then go to the next one and only spend so much time there, and force yourself to go to different places that are like far apart. Because sometimes pre-fishing, when you look at lakes, you're like, well, this is the only area that looks good, and you really got to like force yourself to move to these other places. For me, the one thing that I would have done different, I would have gone Main Lake after the smallies. Main Lake after risked it all, should have risked it all, flipped my kayak twice, man. I mean, if that's what it took to win, that's what it took to win. Dude flipped his kayak twice and he won. I mean, he was fishing some crazy water, and that's what it was, man. I mean, and I knew where some really good smallies were. I knew, and there was a giant area too, so it was like you could move around on it. Yeah, I need to grab some bigger balls. That's what I got out of it.
Well, let me ask you this, and we'll end it on this. Like me, I was happy. There was one point, it's like, Josh, just get a limit. If you can get a limit, two day limits, that's going to look good because there's going to be a lot of people who don't get limits. And if you get a decent limit, if I get in the 80s, 20 an event like that. Now, granted, I don't have anything going for me right now, so that works for me. I don't know like where you are in the scoring and how important like points mean different things to certain people. But me, I feel like I do a lot with just good limits. You know what I mean, and not be so greedy at this point right now. Later on when I build that confidence, go big or go home. But I think right now, like limits are really important to me. Like when I got a limit out there, even though it was in the 70s, I'm like, dude, it took so much pressure like off my back. Like I was able to focus on. Now I can make decisions and feel a little bit more comfortable because it doesn't matter. I got a limit. Now it's all about just finding that big, like that 117-inch, that 120-inch that's really going to put me above some other people.
Yeah, man. Like you said, limits are everything, and that's where it starts. Is catching a limit 2 days in a row. That is not as easy as it sounds because things change, like we've already said. And I think that's everything, man. And honestly, 2 days of 80-inch limits. If you have mid 80s, man, a lot of times that's a good check.
Yeah.
You do 2 days of 85. A lot of times that's a good check. Here, not so much. In a few other places, it's a little bit harder. You got to do up from there. But just catch the limit, man. And honestly, that's the first thing I focus in on, man. It's just getting my limit in the morning. I just want to get my limit, and then I move on. I try not to think about it, but honestly, it's really nice when you get on a flurry, even if they're all 12s. You got 5 12s in there, and when you start fishing around, it's not like 1 o'clock rolls around. Where's my 5th fish?
Yes, yeah.
It's a 12, but you got them. It's just so much off your mind. So filling your limit, man. That's like my first thing in my mind in the morning. I just want 12. Just give me 5 12s. That's fine.
Right. It can only get better from that point.
Exactly. You got your limit. Now you move up.
Yeah. Well, cool, man. I really appreciate you coming on. What's next for you? I know me. I'm definitely doing the Susquehanna. I'm just going to call it the Sussy because I always butcher it when I say it. And Jake Harshman listens to this, and he always makes fun of me. So, but that's my next event. Like I'm going to try to do at least 2 more Hobie events because I'm kind of obsessed with the whole Hobie thing right now. So, what's next for you?
Doing 2 more, man. I think I'm going to be at the Susky. I'm not sure yet. I still have to work out a couple details. One of them's housing. I don't have any housing yet for it, so I gotta figure something out for that. I really want to make the Susky after last year. I want some payback, man.
Yeah.
I ain't gonna lie. I want some payback. Last year I kicked my butt, and I want to change that around a little bit. So yeah, right. Susky or Wisconsin be one of the 2. Would be my next.
Yeah, those are the 2 I want to do now. I really want to do lacrosse, and the Susquehanna is just too close for me not to do it, and it's another 3-4 hour trip for me. So it's just like, if Hobie's going to come this close to me, I need to do it. So
hell yeah, man! I love hearing that attitude, man. If it's a big event that's close by, let's do it, man. You know what I mean? I wish they'd come by me a little bit closer.
Yeah. Well, cool, man. So is there anything else you got going on right now?
No, that's pretty much it. Just kayak fishing. East-West Harbor's coming up in 2 weeks, I guess, right? 2-3 weeks for KBF, man. For all the guys in Northern Ohio and Michigan and stuff, that's a killer event, fishing those harbors, man. If just a little plug out. If anybody's thinking about doing it, they should. It's good fishery.
Oh, cool, man. Was there anyone you want to thank right now? It's been a while since we talked, or a few months. I don't know if you got new sponsors or whatever that's making fishing easier for you, but this is your
no one knew, but I'd like to thank my biggest sponsors, man. Hobie being my biggest sponsor. Thank those guys so much. They make the world's best kayaks. The Mirage Drive's amazing. Check out your 360. Check out the new Lynx. That's amazing. Hobie dealers have them all across the country right now. Strictly Sail and Kayak in Cincinnati, Ohio. Thank those guys. They've been supporting me a long time. They're kind of the ones that even got me into competitive kayak fishing. Fishing Online. Thank those guys. They've been huge. They're a big help. Those are like the 3 biggest ones right there. So I like to just put a little plug in for those guys. And thank you for giving me the opportunity to come on and talk, man. I love talking with you about kayak fishing. It's always a pleasure, man.
Yeah, man. I always learn something here. I appreciate the friendship that we've created. I enjoyed meeting you in person. Maybe next time we'll be on shore. We can go grab dinner or something like that.
Oh, I would love that, man. I would love that.
All right, man. Well, you have a good night. Hopefully I'll see you in a few weeks or about a month. But, man, I'm looking forward to it.
All right, man. Take care.
All right, bye.